yet back to normal. Also ahead,
we should not take shortcuts, and that these shortcuts will not pay.
Reality sinks in further for students who are caught cheating in their KCSE. Plus, rethinking how the IEBC is constituted. Politicians say religious leaders should not have a seat at the table.
Some of these things are not always best dealt with in church or in mosques. In fact, as a matter of fact, I don't think religion has ever shaped us in this country.
NTV Tonight with Olive Burrows.
I'm glad you could join me. Remember, you can also watch us live on ntv.co.ke/live or using the NTV Kenya handle on YouTube, Twitter and Facebook. Our sign language interpreter tonight is David Agondoa. Fake Dr. James Mugondishu, alias Mugowa Wairimu, has been arrested. Flying squad officers seized the quack in Gashie in the county of Kiambu at about 8 p.m. The officers have taken him to Pangani police station, with the arrest coming almost 2 weeks since Mugo went into hiding. In an NTV Investigates expose, Mugo was revealed to have resurfaced in his illegal abortion trade after he hit the headlines back in 2015. The November 5th expose exposed how he allegedly carried out abortions, raped his patients, and abused drugs at a clinic he was running illegally in Nairobi. The police have been trailing him since NTV aired the investigative feature. 2 college students who worked at a Kayole clinic allegedly owned by Mugo were arrested and arraigned, charged and detained last week. More trouble is brewing for embattled Migori Governor Okoth Obado, with the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission raiding his homes in Nairobi and Migori. The raids informed by the ongoing probe into graft allegations against the governor. NTV's Brenda Wanga reports that the governor is not yet out of the woods.
After a search that took place in the early hours of the morning, detectives carted away documents retrieved from the Nairobi home of Migori Governor Okoth Obado. As they searched his Nairobi home, another team of detectives was also doing the same at his home in Migori, the county government offices and his office. Although the detectives remained mum on their mission, sources intimated to NTV that the simultaneous raids were part of the evidence gathering that the anti-graft body is undertaking as it continues to probe the governor. ESCC's investigation into the governor focuses on alleged misuse of funds, embezzlement and procurement irregularities. Migori Governor Okoth Obado is also under investigation for suspected foreign accounts in Australia and China, which allegedly belong to either him or close relatives. The raids come as the ESCC continues to investigate the alleged case of embezzlement of over 2 billion shillings by the governor from his home county of Migori. Obado is also under investigation over suspicions of using at least 23 companies he had interest in to do questionable business with the county government, leading to the loss of billions of shillings from the county. The ESCC believes that he used part of the proceeds of these deals to put up a palatial house in the county. Obado has been on ESCC's watch list since the anti-graft body claimed in an affidavit filed in court that the governor had used his proxies and cronies, relatives included, to divert some 2 billion shillings from the county government's coffers. The raids on his homes today come with the governor at the center of yet another trial for the murders of university student Sharon Otieno and her unborn baby. The murder charge saw the governor spend over 1 month in police custody. He was only granted bail with harsh conditions last month. Brenda Wanga, NTV.
The High Court has this afternoon granted Anne Ngirita, one of the 37 accused persons in the NYS Season 2 case, permission to get medical attention before she can continue to sit in for the hearings this Wednesday. Meanwhile, the court heard statements from the defense who are opposed to an application by the prosecution to introduce 5 new items into evidence against the accused. Defense lawyers told the court that by introducing this evidence at this stage in the case, it would be unfair to those accused and that the prosecution had the best opportunity to declare this evidence at the pre-trial stage. They believe that the introduction of the new evidence was brought about by a witness who quoted voucher number 1340, which had not been presented to the court at that time. At the same hearing, Anne Ngirita, whose application to adjourn the case was declined by the court, is waiting for a police report that will establish if medical documents presented in court seeking medical treatment are genuine or forged in the next 2 days.
at the pre-trial stage, the prosecution ought to have told this court and all counsels and accused persons, we have certain documents missing which we are looking for, and upon getting them, we will avail them to you.
Humbly urge you to strike it out. If you allow it, Your Honor, it's going to form a president, and a dangerous president, because tomorrow I will come under Article 50, Sub-Article 1, even under the presumption of innocence, and tell you, let me make this application because the presumption is not being protected.
In good news, public transport operators have started to get their vehicles back on the road, with a semblance of normalcy returning in major towns across the country. Here in the capital, the National Assembly Transport Committee directed the Cabinet Secretary for Transport, James Macharia, to present a report on the effectiveness of the return of enforcement of Mishuki rules after 2 months. NTV's Seth Olale with an update on the current transport situation in the country.
One of the 18 commuter trains dispatched by the Kenya Railways Corporation arriving at Mutindwa, Nairobi County to pick passengers. Upon arrival, it's survival for the fittest while boarding. In less than 5 minutes, the train leaves the station. Inside, the coaches are completely full of passengers. Almost every space is occupied, yet this service is highly appreciated by those on board.
We feel it's okay to restore the discipline, and we don't have a problem in actually going what we are going for some few days, if that's what will build our future.
Train is cheap and also reliable, and the timing also is right. Yeah, you can plan yourself very well. The problem is that they are not enough for the customers, for the passengers.
The train fare is 30 shillings per passenger from the normal 40 shillings after the government announced that fares for the 18 commuter trains plying the 4 routes within and on the outskirts of Nairobi reduced fares by up to 10%. However, the train arrived at the Nairobi railway terminus slightly later than its scheduled arrival time. The Kenya Railways Corporation intends to continue with this particular exercise of increasing the number of fleet, or rather trains, to the 4 routes. Even if the transport crisis is going to ease up, they say that boarding a train is the future, and the commuters as well have welcomed the move by the agency to reduce the fares. Apart from the commuter train services, the resumption of public service vehicles in major parts of the country also came as a huge sigh of relief for passengers who are still healing from the long treks occasioned the previous day.
Ni magari chache bado ziko kwa barabara, mingi zao bado hazijafuata hizo sheria zilisemwa.
Waeke bidii by next week kusafiri rudi sawa sawa. Kulikuwa tukalisha hapa, shughuli na katika.
The number of buses and matatus in various locations countrywide ferrying passengers to different destinations rose on the second day of strict enforcement of the Michuki rules. However, there were reportedly incidents of hiked fares despite the government's warning of the risk of revoking licenses for operators found hiking fares.
Mimi inaniudhi sana. Mimi nioka naenda Kongoya saa hii na mguu, chukua nguo na nirudi tena mpaka Likoni na mguu.
Traffic officers were busy inspecting PSVs to ensure total compliance with the law. Those found on the wrong side of the regulation had their day in court. At Parliament buildings,
It doesn't work.
The Cabinet Secretary for Transport, James Macharia, briefed the National Assembly Committee on Transport on the transport situation in the country.
But it's a journey which will never stop. People are saying this is a knee-jerk. It's not knee-jerk. It will go until infinity, just to make sure that this, what has been achieved, what is being achieved, will continue.
Going forward, we want to make Michuki rules self-regulating or self-enforcing. As Honorable Vice Chair said, we want to really not see police everywhere.
The Parliamentary Transport Watchdog also directed the Transport CS to fully take over the control of public transport from the private sector. Seth Olale, NTV.
Education Principal Secretary Belio Kipsang says 4 candidates deregistered on Monday have a chance of sitting their national exams in future after the law takes its course. 3 of the students from Garissa County were arraigned in court today. NTV's education reporter Sharon Baranga with the details.
It is the 7th day since KCSE candidates began writing their examinations. But unlike other students, 4 from Garissa and Nairobi counties will not be sitting the remaining papers after they were discontinued over attempts to cheat in the examinations. They were found with mobile phones. The 3 from Garissa were arraigned in court today. It is believed that the mobile phones had content for chemistry paper 2. 2 were released on a 50,000 shillings bond. The prosecution appealed to the court to detain the 3rd student until tomorrow when the owner of the mobile phone is found. This is after they failed to unlock it. The case will be heard on the 12th of February next year. However, the Education Principal Secretary says the students still have a chance to redeem themselves, but at a later date after the law takes its course.
In the fullness of time, the law, the same act also would provide what happens to such candidates. Would they be allowed to recite an examination at some point in time? The law provides all this. And as usual, we would want to give an opportunity to all our children.
And in Mwingi, Kitui County, 3 candidates were arrested after they were found with a mobile phone in school. Mwingi OCPD John Nyamu reported that their head teacher caught them using the phone and suspected they had plans of cheating in today's exams. The students were taken to Mwingi police station where they were questioned, but investigations revealed that the content on the mobile phone was not related to the exam. In Nairobi, 3 people moved to court seeking to compel the Ministry of Education to allow the setting of a supplementary national examination for KCPE and KCSE candidates who deliver babies 3 months before the start of exams, during the exams, as well as those bereaved in the course of sitting the exams. They further want it declared that it is unconstitutional to allow expectant candidates, those who have delivered and those grieving, to sit the exams during the regular exam period. And Education Cabinet Secretary Amina Mohammed says the deployment of police officers in schools is not meant to intimidate students but ensure integrity of exams and security is observed.
The systems we have been able to put in place have detected, they have allowed us to apprehend, they have allowed us to arrest, and we're in the process of prosecuting.
And Education Cabinet Secretary Amina Mohammed says the deployment of police officers in schools is not meant to intimidate students, but ensure integrity of exams and security is observed. Amina visited the Hill, Wareng and Chebisa secondary schools in Uasin Gishu County, where she supervised collection and distribution of exam papers. The exam will end on the 28th of this month. Sharon Baranga, NTV.
The Ministry of Education has 1 week to restore the ownership of church-built schools to their respective churches. This directive from President Uhuru Kenyatta requires the ministry to further ensure sponsorship of these schools is under the care of the churches. President Kenyatta was speaking during the funeral service of Archbishop Emeritus of Mombasa, John Njenga. More on this with NTV's Mel Miendo.
The status of schools in Kenya is alarming. In 2018 alone, a total of 107 cases of unrest have been reported in secondary schools countrywide, 63 of which are arson-related, another 23 cases being walkouts, while 14 are breakages. According to President Uhuru Kenyatta, these cases are on the rise due to a lack of guidance for school children, hence his stern directive to the Ministry of Education to restore ownership of all schools built by churches.
Look at the level of indiscipline that we have in our schools. Look at the level of some of the activities where school children are taking it upon themselves to burn schools. It tells you there is something missing in their lives.
The Education Ministry has only 1 week to ensure this happens.
There are a lot of churches, schools sponsored and built by the church. And the Ministry of Education, and I'm saying it for the last time today, I want you to ensure that you restore that sponsorship back.
President Kenyatta issued the directive on church schools to honor the memory of the late Archbishop Emeritus of Mombasa, John Njenga, who passed away on November 4th, 2018. Also in attendance at Archbishop Njenga's funeral service was Deputy President William Ruto, former Vice President Mudi Awori, among other leaders.
A few years ago, the Holy Family Basilica Church constructed a crypt, which is basically a grave where bishops, archbishops and cardinals would be. This is a room beneath the church where these graves are set. Bishop John Njenga is the first to be buried here at the Holy Family Basilica Church. Melmendo, NTV, Nairobi.
Meanwhile, the political class wants the church out of the panel that will reconstitute the IEBC moving forward. According to leaders attending a conference about rethinking democracy, the electoral mess the country is in right now can be linked to them after they had a hand in coming up with a commission that presided over the 2017 elections. The politicians are, however, not agreed on whether the electoral process in the country should be looked into or not. NTV's political affairs reporter Kennedy Mureithi attended the conference organized by Konrad Adenauer Stiftung, a German political foundation, and has prepared this report.
The urgency to reconstitute the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission and the clamor to do it early informed the meeting today that brought together various political leaders who are of the opinion the IEBC as constituted now is almost crippled and needs to be reconstituted.
I think it is important for all of us to sit urgently to address the loopholes that are existing now in the filling of the IEBC commissioners and commissions. And number two is that we must address any election-related issues now when the when the temperatures are still low, and that Kenyans are willing to listen to each other thanks to the political environment that we have achieved at the moment.
Already, Homa Bay Town MP Peter Kaluma has a bill before the House that outlines ways of reconstituting the IEBC, where he proposes a panel that has politicians' input in the form of political parties nominating people to the panel based on their strengths in Parliament and a senior council nominated by the lawyers' body. The formula used in getting the commissioners in office now was to be used once, and it was agreed that the church plays an active role in the selection panel, but politicians say that has not worked so far and it needs to change.
Some of these things are not always best dealt with in church or in mosques. In fact, as a matter of fact, I don't think religion has ever shaped us in this country. People thought that, religion would find people who pray and will do things in accordance with the God's will.
I have a lot of respect for Kenyans, but I don't know Chebukati personally. I didn't know until the day he was made a commissioner, so we'll ask religious leaders where they got Chebukati.
Some agree with Kaluma's proposals, as they say it will be the best bet for the country and a checkmate for the political class.
If you have an electoral body where the stakeholders and the political parties and civil society have a role even after the electoral body has been put in place, we may be able to oversee and oversight the work more effectively.
Is IEBC the problem? Or is it us politicians who are the problem?
The political class who were brought together at the meeting organized by Konrad Adenauer Stiftung, a German-based political foundation, also want stiffer penalties for any party found to have tinkered with the electoral system.
It should be an offense to interfere with an election for. We should jail people the way we are jailing whoever we are jailing for corruption. We jail people for election offenses. Maybe then we can improve this country.
The Makueni senator says the return to elections punishment meted by the Supreme Court was not sufficient as nobody was held culpable for the mess. Kennedy Mureithi, NTV.
A family in Mishomoroni, Mombasa County is in agony after their 8-month-old toddler Consolata Wamboi went missing from their home. The parents say that Consolata was stolen by an unknown person after her mother had gone to the shops, and efforts to trace her have since proven futile. Kevin Mutai has more details.
In the densely populated suburbs of Mshomoroni, Mombasa County, is a family in pain, agonizing over the loss of their baby girl who was stolen from their house. Baby Consolata Wamboi, who is 8 months old, went missing on Thursday last week, a situation that has left the family in pain but with hopes of seeing their little angel again.
Nilipoulizwa kama ni mimi nimeenda na mtoto, kitu ya kwanza nilisikia kama kufaint. Hata sikuwa nimefuga duka, nilikuwa naja tu kama kujisaidia hapa nyumbani biashara yangu haiko mbali, ni hapa tu karibu.
Her mother says that she had just breastfed her daughter and left her playing with other children as usual, among them a 7-year-old girl who is her eldest sister. She then proceeded to her shop just near the house, and approximately 10 minutes later, baby Consolata had been stolen.
Hata ukienda kila mahali wote wanakuambia hakuna vile mtu anaweza toka mbali. Na ni kweli hakuna vile mtu anaweza toka mbali bila kuwa na mtu wa karibu ambaye anaweza kuwa na mahali mtoto alienda.
Mwenye akona mtoto wangu anirudishie, manake ninasikia uchungu sana ndani ya roho.
It has been 5 days of nightmares and endless pain since the baby went missing, and the desperate search for her has not been successful. The matter has been reported at Nyali Police Station and investigations are underway, but the parents are appealing to the public to help in the search for Consolata Wamboi. Kevin Mutai, NTV, Mombasa.
A reminder of our top story tonight: a fake doctor, James Mugondishu, alias Mugowa Wairimo, has been arrested. Flying squad officers seized the quack in Gashie in the county of Kiambu at about 8 p.m. The officers have taken him to Pangani police station, with the arrest coming almost 2 weeks since Mugo went into hiding. Let us know your thoughts on this latest development by tweeting us on @NTV Kenya. We take a short break, but I'll be back on the other side. Thank you for keeping it NTV Tonight. The Permanent Secretary in the Department of Fisheries, Professor Misheni Ntiba, has denied allegations of rampant and regulated fishing activities in Kenyan territory on the high seas. The PS says the government is working hard to change the narrative. Local fishing groups in Tana River recently complained about illegal and destructive fishing by foreign vessels, which are damaging the environment and depleting fish stocks. NTV's Charity Mwangi reports.
The plight of fishermen in the coastal county of Tana River paints the picture of an unexploited resource in Kenya over the years. The fishing methods practiced by locals are crude, with the boats limited. This translates to their poor earnings and inability to meet their needs. Their preparation and preservation methods are equally limited, exposing the fishermen to more losses of their very perishable commodity. This, coupled with a lack of facilitation, makes the fishing business in Kenya, especially for locals, unprofitable to say the least.
Vyombo vya kufikia kule deep sea ni vichache. Kwa hivyo huwa wanakuja hapa shallow water, samaki ambazo tunapata huwa haziwezi kukidhi haja sana.
Fishers work alone as loaning groups, and an attempt to organize them, it becomes difficult because there has been no proper organization.
The local fishing groups in Tana River had decried uncontrolled fishing by foreign vessels that contributed to the depletion of the fish population. Their proof being the dead small fish that they find in the waters. They say the fish are thrown back in the water by large-scale fishers, a notion that Professor Micheni denies, saying there could be environmental reasons that contribute to fish chaos, especially where tributaries drain the waters into larger water bodies.
It is illegal to catch fish smaller than prescribed by law. And I think it is a matter of time as we put our coasting guard in place, working with the fisheries, working with the police, working with everybody else, we will catch these persons.
The Permanent Secretary says that it has been difficult to regulate fishing in the high seas owing to the lack of capacity to police the vast waters. 400 kilometers into the Indian Ocean makes up Kenya's territorial waters, which have in the past been treated as a desert region where foreign vessels would engage in illegal fishing.
Right now it is not open for all. We catch you there without proper licenses and authority, we will deal with you because you are criminal.
The Blue Economy Conference, expected to be held in Nairobi later this month, will seek to increase opportunity in fishing and other water-related businesses. It is, however, unclear whether this will translate to benefits for fishing communities. Charity Mwangi, NTV. A section of county assembly members have rejected a proposal by the Senate to mediate talks aimed at ending wrangles witnessed in the county assemblies. The MCAs instead told a Senate committee to leave matters of running the counties to them, even as the assembly speakers call for a truce to end the wars that have been disrupting services in the devolved units. NTV's Silas Apollo attended the session and filed this report.
The county assembly members today came out gun blazing. Their anger directed at the Senate, which they accuse of policing the regional houses. The ward reps were particularly agitated by attempts of senators who sit in the devolution committee to mediate wrangles in assemblies between speakers, governors and MCAs.
I was not saying the Senate should allow the county assembly members to go rogue. And we are not rogue in any way, Bwana Chair. We should not come with a legislation trying to twist MCAs at that level, because it will become unconstitutional.
They say that while the Senate is mandated by law to protect devolution, such a role does not include oversighting assemblies.
The elephant in the house is the differences, competition between the members of National Assembly, the MCAs, senators and governors.
But county assembly speakers under the caucus of the County Assemblies Forum were of a contrary view, and instead accused some members of the assemblies of using their powers to twist, intimidate and overthrow speakers.
If we don't follow procedure, if we act outside the law,
then we are making a mockery of the legislative process. Then we as assembly should not even question the executive when they don't follow procedure. We should not question. We should not go out and say we are oversighting the executive on procedure.
Some critics have, however, accused the MCAs of hypocrisy for rejecting the offer of the Senate. The session held by the Senate Devolution Committee today was in response to some of the tough wars between members of the county assemblies and their speakers, and which has been blamed for hampering the delivery of services in counties. Sessions in more than 3 county assemblies such as Nairobi, Homa Bay and Kisumu have been disrupted this year after MCAs impeached speakers over claims of abuse of office. The wrangles have been linked to supremacy battles and disagreements on the use of funds, privileges and even the allocation of resources and leadership roles. County speakers now want the Senate to introduce a law that will make assemblies independent of the executive as ways of reducing the conflicts. Silas Apollo, NTV.
That county standoff informs the discussion on Sidebar tonight with Ken Mijungu, and his guests are Peter Imwatok, the MCA Makongeni, Samson Cherargei, the Senator of Nandi, and Joshua Kipto, who's the Speaker Nandi County. We take a break on that note, but Dan Mwangi will be on the other side with the business news.
Welcome to the other side, as Olive would put it. Good evening. My name is Dan Mwangi. Let's get down to business. Kisumu's National Cereals and Produce Board depot risks losing close to 1 billion shillings due to the lack of drying facilities near its silos. This was revealed during a tour of the facility by Agriculture Cabinet Secretary, that's Mwangi Kionjori. According to the CS, 60% of at least 300,000 bags of maize currently in storage at the depot are discolored and could be unfit for human consumption. Aoko Kusa reports.
The CSU is on a countrywide mission to conduct quality assessment audit on maize in NCPB stores, was outraged and wondered why the management of the depot had failed to purchase the 7 million shillings grain dryers to safeguard the maize stored at the facility.
The issue was about the discolored maize, and what is being ascertained is whether discolored maize is good for human consumption. We are also investigating on why the maize discolored.
The Kisumu NCPB suspended buying of maize in March this year after discovering that the grains with moisture content above 13.5% were delivered to the silos.
I have requested Professor Anyang' Nyong'o to set his own team again, because by the end of the day, the maize that we have here will get to operate. There is no way Professor Anyang' Nyong'o will know where the unga came from, and therefore the safety is our safety.
In June this year, the Kenya Bureau of Standards confirmed that 60% of maize in the NCPB stores countrywide, estimated to cost 7.6 billion shillings, was discolored and contaminated and unfit for human consumption.
And we want to know the actual reasons. Is it about overstaying in the silos? Is it about whether we do not have enough storage facility? And therefore, we can be able to have a recommendation and the way forward so that some of these issues will not recur in the near future.
This development comes at a time when private millers in North Rift and Western Kenya regions decried the quality of maize delivered to NCPB stores, saying that they were substandard. According to the CS, a task force formed to look into the issue will give its report in 2 days' time. Ouko Kusa, NTV.
The Competition Authority of Kenya, that's CAK, has imposed a 1.5 million shillings penalty on Interconsumer Products Limited for acquiring 100% of the assets of Belt-Size Industries Limited without regulatory approval. Interconsumer manufactures and distributes sanitary pads, baby diapers, shoe polish and tissue paper, while Belt-Size manufactured 3 brands of tissue paper. According to the CAK, in 2013, Interconsumer purchased Belt-Size without following the law since it had not received a green light from the authority. The CAK's fairly lenient penalty was informed by the fact that Belt-Size was almost going under, and the acquisition by Interconsumer helped preserve the jobs of 9 employees. The competition watchdog also says that Interconsumer has shown full cooperation towards resolving the matter. Debt sustainability in developing countries is deteriorating fast. That is the assessment of Salim Badura, the president of the Trade and Development Board of the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, that UNCTAD. The unpleasant assessment comes as Kenya approaches the 60% mark as far as overall debt to GDP is concerned. According to UNCTAD, the debt to GDP ratio exceeded 70% in a fifth of emerging and middle-income countries and was more than 60% in low-income countries. Debate on whether Kenya's overall debt is sustainable or not has often divided experts, with government-leaning technocrats alleging that the country is well within the safe margins. Kenya has in recent years opted for sovereign debt financing to help address the surging needs of funding for recurrent and development expenditure. Coffee farmers earned about 809.7 million shillings in October this year after selling 2.5 million kilograms of coffee. However, despite this year's volume significantly increasing as compared to the same period last year, the Nairobi Coffee Exchange reports that the prices of the cash crop drastically plummeted. Lillian Kiaria with more details.
The first month of the 2018-2019 coffee trading season at the Nairobi Coffee Exchange started off in a tight spot, coming at a time prices had dropped so badly, hitting a 12-year low. The average price of a 50 kg bag in October 2018 dropped by 19.7% from the 20,229 shillings posted in October 2017 to 16,237 shillings. The Nairobi Coffee Exchange has attributed this drop to the declining quality of beans presented for sale, as well as the general decline of prices on the international market. With prices so low, concerns are rising that the 2000 to 2004 coffee crisis could be replicated. But the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations says the poor prices can simply be explained by supply exceeding demand. Top coffee-producing countries such as Brazil and Vietnam have continued to expand their production capacity, while the consumption has been on a downward trajectory, especially in developed countries. Technological advances in coffee processing and excess market power by the major coffee roasters have also been factors leading to the decrease in demand. Kenya and other East African countries with a high degree of dependency on coffee exports continue to feel the impact of the falling prices as they rely on coffee export earnings for social economic development. To ease the pinch of the drop in prices to the farmers, the government is implementing a series of legislative actions, including a 1.5 billion shillings subsidy program to support the affected farmers. Lillian Kerry, NTV Business.
Stakeholders in the leather sector have come together to form the Leather Apex Society of Kenya. The umbrella body seeks to strengthen sector players' capacity to lobby for a more favorable business environment. The society incorporates stakeholders including the Tanners Association of Kenya, the Cobblers Association and the Kenya Leather Development Council, and looks to address the country's competitive position as a leather exporter. Julian Samboko with the details.
How to strengthen Kenya's leather value chain and boost its global competitiveness is one of the key challenges facing the manufacturing sector. In 2017, leather exports earned the country 5.1 billion shillings in revenue, a 40% decline from the revenue earned 4 years earlier. The Leather Apex Society is now looking to lobby for a more favorable business environment which should boost the country's competitiveness. Key among the priority issues is pushing for taxation which lowers the cost of inputs for traders.
How is government limiting? Because if I want to bring in accessories today, there's duty, there's a tax levied on it. So what happens? Now, in China, somebody is buying a press button at less than a shilling. In Nairobi, I have to buy the same press button about 30 shillings.
Scaling up the quality of designs to meet global standards will also be one of the issues the newly formed society will be looking to address, especially with regard to footwear.
We are still engaging rudimental technology, basic technology, whereas our counterparts in Ethiopia and other developed countries are using the modern technology whereby you just power your designs by the computer. So you don't have to have guys doing the pattern cutting. By the time they are doing the 4th, 5th pattern cut from the same template, the shape of the product has already changed.
According to the Leather Apex Society, Kenya produces only 8% of the average 42 million pairs of footwear purchased in the country every year. This signals both the opportunity of untapped market the sector could target, as well as the challenge faced in raising local production, especially as the government imposes import duty to safeguard local industry. Julian Samboko, NTV.
The Port of Mombasa has hit another milestone in berth productivity after receiving the biggest container vessel carrying over 1,919 containers. According to KPA, the arrival of MV Ever Diamond from Panama signifies the growth and strength of port business in the country that is continuously boosting the economy. The port has so far established 4 successful productivity records, with the latest vessel recording 1,523 moves with 8 hours. Time for me to export myself from studio. Business is done. So am I. Have a good night.
Thank you for keeping it NTV Tonight. Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka has returned to the country from Juba, South Sudan after his first assignment as a special envoy after taking up a new role in monitoring the peace process in South Sudan. Kalonzo had accompanied Foreign Affairs CS Monica Juma to Juba after being appointed head of the Joint Monitoring and Evaluation Commission on Peace in South Sudan, JMEC.
Ndugu yetu Kalonzo hata yeye pia atusaidie kuingine upande mwingine kuleta amani, kuleta nchi pamoja, kufungua biashara za Wakenya, nchi za nje. Kuna shida hapo jameni.
Just a few days after President Uhuru Kenyatta hinted at giving Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka a job as part of the Building Bridges initiative to achieve inclusivity, the former vice president has been appointed to head the Joint Monitoring and Evaluation Commission on Peace in South Sudan. On his first assignment, Kalonzo accompanied the Foreign Affairs Cabinet Secretary Monica Juma to Juba to deliver President Uhuru Kenyatta's congratulatory message to South Sudan President Salva Kiir for implementing the South Sudan Peace Agreement. President Kiir entered into a deal with rebel leader Riek Machar to end years of bloody conflict. During his father's burial, Kalonzo had openly talked about his intention to work with President Kenyatta.
Nitakuwa mtu wa mkono wa Uhuru kuanzia sasa. Na mtu asiniulize maswali. Ukiniuliza utaniona, utajua mimi ni mang'aa kama baba yangu.
Kalonzo's new relationship with the president seems to have brought him more good tidings. Just a few days ago, Kalonzo's security detail was restored at his 3 homes. This comes several months after his security team was withdrawn during last year's heated presidential election as NASA engaged State House in a bait-knuckled political fight. State House has not yet confirmed his appointment, but sources close to Kalonzo have confirmed to NTV that the government had forwarded his name to the Intergovernmental Authority for Development (IGAD) for approval. JMEC, the Joint Monitoring and Evaluation Commission overseeing implementation of the deal, was established by IGAD and has been overseeing the peace process in South Sudan since 2013, specifically the peace deal signed between Kiir and Machar in 2015. Vincent Odur, NTV.
From Mtu wa Mkono to sports coming up next with Brian Otwal after this break.
23 football team will begin their quest for a 2020 Olympics ticket with a first leg 2019 Africa Under-23 Cup of Nations qualifier against Mauritius at the Kasarani Stadium tomorrow afternoon. Mauritius had a feel of the Kasarani Stadium today, and their coach Sekur Boldoun stated he is wary of Kenya's threat. The island nation will host the reverse fixture on Sunday, with the aggregate winner meeting either Seychelles or Sudan in the second round slated for March next year. The third round is set for June, after which 7 countries will join host Egypt in the Under-23 AFCON tournament in November 2019. The top 3 teams in the 8-team continental showpiece will qualify for the 2020 Summer Olympics men's football tournament in Japan. And once touted as the region's premier football tournament, the Sekafa Senior Challenge Cup is a pale shadow of itself, and this year's edition has been cancelled. According to Sekafa Secretary General Nicholas Musonye, this was in a bid to align their activities with the international calendar. A couple of countries were notably unwilling to host the tournament, citing lack of funds. The Kagame Cup and Senior Challenge Cup are now planned to be played in June-July windows. Tanzania and Rwanda have shown interest in hosting the Kagame Cup next June, while the hosting country for the Senior Challenge Cup will be known after the General Assembly next month in Uganda. And the third edition of the SportPesa Cup that sees top football teams from Kenya and Tanzania do battle slated for January 22nd to 27th, 2019 in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. Kenya's Bandari FC and Tanzania's Mbao FC are the new inclusions to the annual tournament. Apart from the Mombasa-based outfit, other Kenyan sides in the competition will be defending champions Gor Mahia, Kariobangi Sharks FC and FC Leopards. In addition to Mbao, Tanzania will be represented by Premier League winners Simba, their perennial rivals Yanga and Singida United. After the results of one match day of the 2019 Rugby World Cup repechage, Canada, who have never missed a World Cup since 1987, are standout favourites to maintain their record. Canada picked a bonus win over Kenya in the first round after hammering them 65-19 to get 5 points, while Germany's 26-9 win over Hong Kong saw them pick 4. Canada are in pole position to advance, and to do so they will have to beat Germany on Saturday.
Lovely little chip through. And it's great vision. Comes from the restart and back.
And former African Rally champion Jassi Chate will return to the Kenya National Rally Championship in Sunday's season-ending Guru Nanak Rally. Chate, who won an unprecedented ARC and KNRC double in 2015, will drive a Mitsubishi Lancer Evo 10 R4 in preparation for the 2019 season with his regular co-driver Gugu Panesar. The season ender will be flagged off from Stony Athi Resort at 7:15 a.m., after which crews will tackle 3 stages of which Stony Athi and SGR will be repeated twice. Ronaldo could not hold on to some ball when he was watching a tennis match in France, but then